Again, just 10 days ago, many of your newsrooms reported that incomes are growing faster in Idaho than anywhere else in the U.S. While Idaho still ranks near the middle for median income, our state saw an astounding 15.5% income growth rate over the past 5 years, which was the highest growth rate in the nation. The economic momentum, as we understand it, is fueled certainly by population growth, but also by investments, significant investments from companies like Micron, Meta, and Amazon. Governor Little aptly described this growth as unprecedented economic prosperity. Now, Idaho's judges, like most Idahoans, take pride in living and working in a state that is thriving. We celebrate these signs of posterity and are happy that Idahoans are reaping the benefits of growth. Yet we also recognize that this unprecedented growth brings unprecedented demands, especially on Idaho's courts. These demands are not confined to the Treasure Valley, but reach every corner of our state. And the demands can make it challenging to provide the level of service that Idahoans are entitled to receive from their courts. The rise in civil case filings over the past year is particularly notable. In Idaho's district courts, filings have increased by 30% the last year, the highest level since well before the pandemic. While magistrate court filings have remained fairly constant, many of these courts also operate at capacity and urgently need additional judges to help alleviate their growing caseloads. This growth of our state underscores a critical reality, a rapidly expanding and prosperous state. But states like Idaho with that prosperity require a highly skilled, well-educated, and professional judiciary. Idaho's people are promised by our Constitution a speedy remedy in our courts for every injury to person, property, or character. Yet against the backdrop of Idaho's economic success, the judicial branch faces challenges we cannot ignore. 5 years ago, district court vacancies attracted an average of 11 applicants. Last fiscal year, that number dropped to just 4.6 applicants per opening. Statutory requirements mandate that the Idaho Judicial Council that meets to select judges for district court and appellate court vacancies submit no less than 3 qualified individuals for consideration by the governor. For 3 of our most recent district court vacancies in Caribou, Minidoka, and Kootenai County, only 3 applicants applied for each position. Equally troubling is the decline in private practice experience among judicial applicants. Over the past decade, 37% of district judge applicants had some kind of private practice legal experience. Last year, just 21% of the applicants had that experience. This experience is important because it augments the balance of our bench, the way judges understand the things that come before them in the cases, particularly the complex civil litigation cases that are so more prevalent now than they were 5 or 10 years ago. At the Supreme Court, we are focused to address these issues on making judicial service a viable and fulfilling career choice. And while we have the power to make some improvements within the judicial branch, the most pressing concern, judicial compensation, is beyond our control. Idaho consistently ranks nationwide near the bottom in judicial pay. This year, Idaho's district judges rank 48th in judicial pay. Among neighboring states, only one pays its judges less, while most pay their judges 10 to 40% more than Idaho. To address this, we are taking the unusual step of proposing a significant increase in judicial salaries. Our proposed legislation would set district judges' salaries at $201,000 annually, with magistrate judges earning $193,000. This adjustment would move Idaho closer to the median nationwide for judicial pay rather than leaving us where we are now near the bottom. We're also asking that the legislature establish a salary commission to advise the legislature on judicial compensation going forward. The commission's recommendation would be subject to review and acceptance by the legislature. This is the method presently used to set legislative salaries that just occurred here last month. This commission would hopefully act in an objective, market-based way to evaluate judges' salaries in a way that would not resort to the political and policy-based subjects that have complicated judicial compensation in the past few years. Let me be clear, our proposal at setting salaries at the amount we recommend is based upon market-based research. Research not solely on what an attorney in the Idaho market makes, but also on what public attorneys make, those working in the public sector right now. So we're not just saying that judges should be paid what an attorney in private practice makes, but more importantly, what an attorney throughout the market in Idaho could make with the kind of experience we expect our judges to have when they take the bench. Our survey has also compared judicial salaries, as I mentioned, to the states contiguous to Idaho that touch our state and our neighboring judges around Idaho. It's important right now that we recognize this need. We're at a bit of a precipice in maintaining our judicial quality and excellence. We're seeing more and more judges retire early, and I'll talk about that perhaps more during our time together. But maintaining the quality of our judicial bench right now and hopefully increasing the viability of our bench going forward, I think requires us to look at two important steps. First is to acknowledge the market factors that are hindering our ability to retain and recruit qualified judicial candidates. And the second would certainly be to take decisive action, to reverse the downward trend that threatens the strength and independence of Idaho's judiciary. This is not just about numbers on a paycheck. It's about ensuring that Idaho's judiciary will remain strong into the future, respected and capable of meeting the challenges that face us in our thriving state. And so I urge our legislative leaders to recognize the urgency of this issue and to support the vital investment that I'm recommending in Idaho's future. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions from you about these issues.
You've kind of touched on it already, but how important is it to have pay that will attract quality candidates to keep positions filled and basically make sure we have quality people on the benches across the state?
Well, to me, the importance lies in the notion of having the best and the brightest capable of deciding the most important decisions in people's lives. It's not unlike, in my view, going to a surgeon for a very important medical procedure. If you're like me, you'd want the very best and the brightest person, the most capable and well-educated person doing that important procedure for you. Every day in Idaho's 44 counties, we have people going to court facing life-changing decisions that judges have to make. And my point is that in those decisions, no less than in other life-changing type decisions in medical care or other important avenues that we face in life, we need judges who are capable, competent, and well-paid, frankly, for the job and the professional work that they do. And the salary is commensurate with what people make in the private sector at some level. But I think if we look at what attorneys are paid that practice before our court, that those attorneys likely make 2 to 3 times more than what we're recommending here today, that a judge be paid to do the similar kinds of work that they do, not to mention all of the other things that go into the life and work of a judge.
If these recommendations are accepted, what would be the timeline for these things to be implemented if everything goes as you hope it would?
At this juncture, we're asking they be implemented as of the next fiscal year, July 1st.
I had one. Last year there was a bill referencing financial incentives for judges to finish their term. Of course, I realize that you're referencing new judges coming in, but some of the legislative, we'll call it rhetoric or arguments over this, revolved around the politicization of the judiciary. Is that something that you're worried about, and how do you plan to approach that with legislators that I think do have concern about that?
Well, I spoke to this briefly last year in terms of the judiciary's view that judges are not for sale. And we certainly continue to maintain that view and the idea that this is an objective-based study on real criteria. We're not just making this up. as I said, for numbers on a paycheck. Our attempt to distance, if you will, the judiciary from the political trappings of this job that can be at times pretty significant, I think remains high and front of mind for me and for the court. But we live in a society where judges are elected. We support that. We understand it's in our Constitution. It's been there since 1890, and we feel that judges need to be responsive to the public to the degree that they are elected officials. That said, our ethics limit to some degree what we can do, what we can say, and how we can approach them. So from that perspective, I don't know that the increased request for increased salary will really have a big effect on making the judges more political or less so, but certainly it shows that the public and hopefully our legislative leaders value the work that our judges do and the importance of the work that they do, and that they're compensated equally as would another professional in that line of work be compensated. Also, just real quick, I think you mentioned that it's important for the new judges who we're trying to attract, but it's also important to retain who we have. Just in the last month, December, we had 3 judges inform me that they're retiring or resigning from the bench. And these are folks who have not been judges that long. You know, it used to be, in the old days, if you want to say that, I've been on the bench 21 years, that judges served an average of 15, 20 plus years. The district bench 15 years ago, I think the average time on the bench was over 17 years, if I have that number correctly. The last 5 years, that number has gone down to where today our judges and the actual term of bench or out of the 49 district judges is below 7 years on the bench. And so it's been cut in half. Now, certainly that's due somewhat to some people retiring when they reach the age of retirement, but we're seeing more and more people who are not seeing a judicial career as the pinnacle of a wonderful legal career, but merely a stopping off point and to something better, to move to a different position. And I'm certainly seeing that. So we're hopeful that not just is this an effort to certainly encourage people to want to be a judge, but to those who are already there, we value your service. You're doing an excellent job. Please stick around and please stay with us. Because like any employment, the cost to retrain, to bring new people on and go through that is a significant part of what we do. And we lose institutional memory every time we have judges leave after 5, 6, 7 years on the bench, which is unfortunately becoming more common.
Can you expand at all on the independent committee that you're recommending and how that would keep politics out of it?
Well, that's a great point. And we feel like it's good and works well for the legislature. The judiciary appoints 3 individuals who sit on that commission, and the governor does as well. We would think the same type of process would work hopefully equally as well for the Judicial Compensation Committee, where the governor would appoint perhaps 3 people. The legislature would as well, and those folks would meet and make a recommendation to the legislature, who has every right to review that and turn it aside or accept it as they see fit. But in our view, that is a good way to look at getting the political circumstances that have kind of faced us over the last few years distance from the process. Now, that would take some time to get the commission set in place, and that's why, to an answer to an earlier question, that the need is immediate for right now for a judicial compensation increase, with a recognition that down the road, hopefully this commission could be put in place to take a look at this in a more long-term fashion. Yes, sir.
And why not have the Idaho Judicial Commission do that role? Why form a separate committee?
I think part of it is the independence question. We have lawyers and judges on the Idaho Judicial Council. I assume that's what you mean by the Judicial Commission. And to have those folks making recommendations on salary, while they certainly have an understanding of what it takes to get judges to be judges and the like, and the lawyers on the council understand what it takes to do the same. I think having an independent commission that could come at this with hopefully views based on what the market is bearing and what people are making to do the job would have a little bit more gravitas, if you will, with the legislature than if folks have or perceive to have a vested interest in the process. I think it's also important to take a step back and think about who our friends down the street hire to represent them in this courtroom behind me. Those lawyers probably are making 3, 4, 5 times what a judge in Idaho makes. The legislature knows what it takes to hire a great lawyer to do their job and to do the work for them. That's no different than having that kind of understanding of, okay, what do we need to have the great judge that we need to hear these important cases that come before them every single day. So I think it just it adds to this notion of objectivity and hopefully an understanding that, this is really what we need to do based on market factors and not solely, well, Idaho's 48th, and so we need to do something to make a difference there.
And do you have an estimate of the cost that your proposal would have?
It's my understanding that the total cost for this proposal going forward this year would be approximately $10 million. Now, one thing that we try to keep in mind and importance before our legislators in terms of our entire budget, our budget amounts to approximately 1% of the entire state budget. Nationwide, state budgets are generally in the realm of 3% for judiciary, for the judicial branch of government, and we're at 1% in Idaho, even with these changes. We recognize they are somewhat significant, but even moving judges to the level that we've recommended of pay, we still are not in the top 100 of state employee income in Idaho. If you go look at Transparent Idaho, more than 100 people make more than what we're recommending judges be paid as state employees in our state.
Can you put that in perspective, 10 million in perspective in terms of the overall budget for the courts?
I'll probably have Nate get back to you on that total figure.
If there's some budget specifics that you're looking for, I'd be happy to work with you later on.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't want to just guess on the math on the fly on that, but I think it's not a significant, although it is a significant amount. In addition to the salary issue, we are asking for new judgeships in 3 different parts of the state, which also will add to that figure. We're asking for a new district judge and magistrate judge in Kootenai County. We'll be asking for a new magistrate judge in Twin Falls County and a new district judge and magistrate judge in Bonneville County. And the reasons for that are across the board mixed. Up in the north, in Kootenai County, we have traveling judges who come to Kootenai from Wallace, Sandpoint, and some judges are spending so much time on the road that they're almost doing the work of a full-time judge in Coeur d'Alene, traveling back and forth to do that. And it flows down to the magistrate division as well up there. So that's the reason in Coeur d'Alene. Twin Falls, where I came from, hasn't had a new magistrate judge in well over 35 years. In that period of time, the population's increased well over 80% in Twin Falls County. So the need, just as a matter of growth, is there in Twin Falls. And in the Bonneville area, it's a similar situation. That district is larger than some eastern states in our nation. And the judges are traveling a lot to cover the work out in the outlying areas. And Bonneville, frankly, is getting more and more complex civil matters brought before the court and the kinds of things in the family law level with the magistrates, protection orders, just things that just seem to be increasing year by year, and that's the reason for the request for new judges over there. And I failed to really mention that, but that is also an important part of what we're trying to do to help get the work done.
Is there a possibility if things continue, without this, with problems with retention and attracting new judges, that it could affect caseload and, getting trials scheduled and, getting people to speedy trials? And I mean, I don't know if that's an extreme event, but is that possible if things don't change the way they're going?
I think it's not only possible, but probable. And we're starting to see it, particularly here in Ada County in the family court. Getting people trial dates in divorce cases is taking a long period of time. Now, criminal cases are mandated to be heard in a speedy way. We use that word as a matter of a legal definition in criminal court. But Idaho's Constitution uses a speedy remedy for civil, criminal, and all disputes that come before the courts. So yes, I think if we don't see this change in getting us more judges to do the work that's being required, we will see continued impact from it. And another part of this, the people retiring early and retiring younger and going on to different careers or different work in the law, is that they're not doing senior judge work. We've been able to help fill the gaps, if you will, by having folks who retire stick around and come in and do senior judge work. We're seeing fewer and fewer people apply to be senior judges, and the last few that I've mentioned, no one's applying to be a senior judge. So that's also reducing this potential quiver, if you will, of judges that's available to help us out. And so that too will affect the ability to cover when judges need to have a break, they need to have a vacation, Senior judge normally might come in and cover some of that load, but with fewer and fewer senior judges, that over time could become a major, major issue. So
Are you working with any legislators to bring a proposal forward?
I know that our in-house counsel has been working with the chairs of the respective judicial committees in the House and the Senate, but I don't know that they've been given a specific bill as of now. Jason, are we there yet?
Yeah, I think we're going to have something coming pretty quickly.
And last year, Senator Lakey on the Senate side ran a bill very, very late in the session that had somewhat a similar tone to it. That it was a little different because it proposed to break this significant increase over 4 years. We brought it to 1 year this year, but he also proposed in that same bill, I think, the establishment of a judicial salary commission. So it's not brand new news, but we're certainly going to be working with the germane committees, as well as the leaders of JFAC in terms of our overall budget presentation and what we're trying to accomplish in the reasons we're making these requests today. Yeah. Anyone else? Well, I thank you for your time in coming here today. I really do hope that my goal is that we understand we're trying to both support current judges and encourage new people to become judges down the road. For me, it's been a wonderfully fulfilling career and one that I look back on with fondness and appreciation for the time I've been able to spend as a judge. I get to go around the country as a Chief Justice, seeing colleagues from the states and territories throughout our nation. We talk about problems we all share and some that we don't, but some that are unique to different parts of the nation. But I always come home from those trips feeling so grateful to be an Idaho judge. We do have the support of our people here, the support of our legislature and our governor, and it just sometimes I think we need to just step back and say, okay, it's time now to make a significant change, and now is the time for that, to support our judges, to get the best and the brightest onto the bench and support those who are already there to keep them functioning in that role. So thank you very much, and I'm sure Nate or others will be in touch. Thank you very much.